You can't even connect and disconnect the factory lockers when you want to. I know every single other jail owner out there has tried to disconnect their factory locker and had it flash at you for like a minute straight. What's up, Brite Nation?
What is going on, guys?
So, over the last week or so, since we uploaded the installation of the ARB lockers into the Gladiator, we've actually had a lot of questions about air lockers in general. And a lot of these are way above our pay grade, and we have no idea how to answer them properly. So we figured before we left, we'd come ask the professionals. All right, you guys, so I am with Mr. Scott Frary, and what do you do for the company?
I'm the product manager for Air Locker in the U.S.
So, this guy knows a lot more than this guy and that guy. So, tell us. I mean, I know one of the biggest questions we had was what's the difference between an air locker versus what you kind of get from factory in your vehicle?
That's a great question. We get asked all the time what the difference is. Really, a lot of it comes down to dollars and cents. The manufacturer is trying to make a product that will stand up to the tire size, the engine, the transmission, the transfer case, the weight of a specific vehicle, and build a product that will sustain that build.
Yeah.
And with a little bit of added factors built in, and a little bit of extra room there. But when we build a locker, the aftermarket, when we build it, we don't know where that's going. Where the factory locker, they know it's going in a 5,000-pound rig with 33-inch tall tires and so on. If somebody puts 37s on it, they can void the warranty. If we're doing a 44, for example, it could be going into a Samurai that somebody's done an axle swap. It could be the front end of a 3/4-ton pickup truck with a camper. So we don't know. So basically, we have to make it so that it is the strongest component in the axle assembly, where your axle shafts and your ring and pinion are designed to fail first.
So, that's one of the main importance with the air locker is they are known to be the strongest lockers out there.
Absolutely, and we've got the proof to back it up.
So this is one of the reasons that we chose not to run an air locker in only the Jeep Gladiator, but also in the Stepchild. You guys have seen what we've put that thing up against and what it can handle. We can beat the ever-living crap out of it without worrying about it breaking.
Yeah, and another big portion of that is the Stepchild's got a Hemi, right? We got the Dynatrac 80 in the rear. And so the good thing about running the air locker is I could be going across the dunes, the desert, and I can hit that rear air. Like if I'm getting ready to come up on something.
Oh, like
you don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not going to get that with the factory electric locker. You're not going to be.
You can't even connect and disconnect the factory lockers when you want to. I know every single other jail owner out there has tried to disconnect their factory locker and had it flash at you for like a minute straight.
Well, and look at that. What would your axles look like right now in the Stepchild if you had just the factory axles in it alone and the factory lockers? They wouldn't hold up. They just wouldn't. And a lot of the users out there are putting them through a lot more hardships, a lot better trails than the factory ever designed them for. So we're that step up.
Right. And you made a good point to me the other day was it's 100 PSI is what they, or 80 to 100 PSI is what they actuate at, but you said something about the airline and what the actual pressure is.
Well, remember what PSI stands for. It stands for pounds per square inch. So when you're narrowing that orifice for the airline down so much smaller, it's coming out significantly harder than that. So you're going to see up to 600 PSI bursts with that air pressure.
Right, and that's what's good about if you are traveling at a high rate of speed and you decide that you do need it or something. You don't want to have wheel spin when you do it, but as long as your wheel speed matches your engine and transmission, you can click it and it's gonna hit hard.
We want a fast, solid engagement. We don't want something that's going in real lightly and delicately. We want it to go in there very, very fast so that it's engaged now.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was a good thing to kind of bring up for a second.
Yeah, there's a really big reason why ARB and why air lockers are significantly better than especially factory lockers, but also in terms of electric lockers in general. They're just stronger.
Well, and that goes back to our engagement. When you're talking about the electric lockers, it's a very slow engagement with very low pressure. And when we have that low pressure, slow speed, you're going to notice on the installation guides and operators manuals that they want you to operate this thing at less than 5 miles per hour. They want to engage at less than 5. Well, 5 is almost stopped in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
In some cases, that's absolutely fine. But when you're rolling up on a hill and it's, you don't want to have to slow down to hit a button.
Yeah, which we do all the time. Obviously, especially now that we have a Hemi. or even honestly in any vehicle we've ever owned, coming to a stop is like the biggest pain when you're in the middle, especially if you're with other people and then you have to come to a stop and people are leaving you behind. You're like, crap, wait, my locker.
Basically, if your tires are going roughly the same speed, and I'm not talking about 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, you're
difference.
slipping.
If they're roughly going the same speed, it doesn't matter how fast the vehicle's going, the engagement's going to work just fine.
So we want to show them how it engages?
Absolutely. I've got a sample over here.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's start with, first and foremost, you need an air supply.
Yep.
Right? Like you can't have an air
compressor.
You can't have an air locker without an air supply. So you can go with, this is just a little one for just a locker.
Just the locker alone. This is our mini compressor.
Mini compressor. We have the dual ARB
the big dog
set up so we can air up our tires and run tools if we need to. So we start here. You have a solenoid, which is on off, and that is what puts the 100 psi, but neck down, like you said, possibly 600 psi
a lot of pressure
into this guy. So let's go over the parts real quick.
Okay, so this is known as the seal housing. What this does is it fits on the bearing journal itself and it supplies air to the locker. So you're going to see here we've got the copper tubing going down inside here. So there would be 2 quad rings. These are not O-rings. If you take a look at that, you're going to see that there are little square corners on it. And that seals incredibly tight when it gets air pressure to it. It's actually much tighter when there's air to it than when there's not air to it. So the hole in the journal, which we'll see right here somewhere, is right there.
Yep.
And the O-rings will be stationed on either side of that. That air will then come in through here, and it will move this bonded seal or BPS bonded piston seal. It will hit this, move a clutch gear up, which is this piece right here, and it will lock the side gear in place.
That makes sense.
So you click the air, it shoots through this.
Pushes this up.
And that just literally
snaps. And then locks this together. There you go. It's not that hard.
So this is super awesome because I'm actually learning like that. I've never physically seen an air locker or really a locker in general work. So it's really cool for that to like suddenly click in my head to like, now I know how that happens.
So it's basically just a couple of seals.
Yeah, that's all it is.
So there's not really any, once everything's together, there's not really any failure parts. I mean,
it's very
simple.
It's very simple. It's really very simple. This part right here that we're talking about, the clutch gear itself, as this is all stuck in here now. This clutch gear, this is a sacrificial part. This is the part that we are making sure that it is getting engaged properly with the side gear itself, and we'll put that on there and see if we can show how that engages.
Okay.
And that's showing how everything locks. So that's locking your axle shaft up. And it's giving you a very positive lock. So we'll start a little bit with basic differential 101. When you're going down the street and you're going in a straight line, the differential inside your housing looks basically just like this. Nothing's happening. The only thing that's moving is the ring gear itself and the pinion. The spider gears or pinion gears are not really even moving at this point. The only time that they do much movement is when you start going around a corner, and then they start doing something called, differentiating. There you go, differential, okay? So we're going around a corner, and one tire has to go faster than the other. So the differential inside is allowing that tire speed to change, to deviate. But now when you're going straight ahead, going straight ahead again, nothing's turning inside.
It's just this ring here is spinning, and you have your pinion over there,
but none of these guys are moving.
No, until you start going around a corner, and then you do that. So that's why we're talking about earlier that we want the tire speed to be about the same on both sides, so you're not trying to smear this gear in place when you lock it in. Okay. So we're going to show you a little bit about that here right now. So right here, we've got the clutch gear we were just talking about.
Yep.
And back in here, there's the piston. So I'm turning on the compressor, and now I'm hitting the air locker switch. Now it's going to act like it's locked, but it's not truly locked yet. So you saw that clutch gear move a little bit, but now I'm going to rotate it into place. Now you see how the clutch gear goes completely locked up. So that's locking the side gear up, which in turn locks the axle shaft up.
Which locks up everything.
Now that's locked.
But what people don't always get is how the other axle's locked up. So this is where ARB comes into being the strongest locker you're going to find in the market. Because when we lock this side gear up with this clutch gear, none of these pinions can turn anymore. This side gear is locked, these pinions can't turn, this side gear can't turn, and that means this axle shaft can't turn. When we lock this up, it is locked up in the strongest position it can be. See how coarse these teeth are right here?
Yes.
If you were to look from the other side, you'd see the tooth contact here, how much tooth contact is involved. If I were to take this and unlock it and move it maybe that much and try to lock it again, I could lose as much as 40% of the strength of the locker. The reason that's important goes back to how the torque transfers across the face of the locker. So now it's all locked up again.
Yeah.
This axle shaft here, you're at Moab. You're on a ledge. You've got 40s with 6 pounds of air in it. Your truck weighs 6,000 pounds, maybe more with all your clothes in it.
This is like
so
bus.
it's a bus. So you're bouncing like crazy. All the torque is coming through here, and it's transferring through these pinions to be locked up. If we had this potentially locked up there, it could very easily blow all these spider gears out. And that's what we're able to do. This is a patented process. It's called the timed locking mechanism. It can only lock up in the strongest position.
Well, that
That's
makes more
the
sense.
only place it can lock up. So that way, when you're climbing that ledge, you're bouncing like crazy.
So it's possible for other lockers to lock up not at the strongest.
Right. In fact, most of the time, they're very, very fine tooth. They could potentially lock in the right position, but it would only be by chance. It wouldn't be by a process that we designed that it can only lock in that position.
That it's locking in
It
that
ensures
position.
it every single time. We have
And this is why we came to the professionals, because I didn't know any of this.
I didn't know any of this.
You hear like ARB lockers like strongest, like that they're.
Well, why?
Well,
because of this.
This is why.
we're using forge gears. Again, we go back to the conversation a little bit earlier about where these things are going. We simply don't know what application they're in. So when we design the locker, we make the locker itself to be the strongest component back there. Axle shafts, ring and pinions, those are going to be the failure points now. We want to make sure the locker survives all that. That's why you're getting alloy shafts, all these good things in there, to make sure you can eliminate as many weak links as possible.
Yeah.
So as long as you have an air supply,
You're good to go.
you're good to go. So now after everything you just covered, showing us the few simple parts, the failures that I've read online, people are like, oh, I was leaking, or the compressor was always coming on. That all sounds like that would be from install error. You can, if you did something bad or there was something on any of the metal that tore anything, yes. But once this is on, there's nothing in there to destroy your.
Let's be real. Sometimes stuff happens. We all know that.
Right.
So we're not going to say that things haven't happened. But the reality is that 99.9% of the failures you're going to see with an air locker are installer caused. Now, in the Dana 80 that you have from Dynatrack in the back of Stepchild, that seal housing actually rides on a separate journal inside. So there's nothing, it's just being held in place by a tab holding it there, and there's nothing going on. So it's not nearly as crucial, the installation on that, as say a Dana 60 or Dana 44. The JL 44 is a little bit different. It is designed very similar to the 80, but on a standard Dana 44 like a JK or a Dana 60 like in your front axle, this seal housing is outboard of the bearing. Okay? We recommend using a case spreader in every case. The reason behind that is that this rides inside your bearing journal. If you don't have enough preload on that when you install it and you torque it, you can actually move the carrier bearing up inside the race, and it moves away from the O-rings. Very simple test. Torque it up a little bit. I did it with my own vehicle. You're there, you put the vehicle in low, four-wheel drive, you put the brake on and give it a little bit of torque, and all of a sudden the compressor starts working. You've just made a gap now between your O-rings and the journal.
Gotcha. Okay.
So those are the things that we ask.
It's an install. That's an installer. If you don't know about this stuff and you're like, I know how to do gears, I'm just going to throw gears and lockers in. That's one of those things. So
basically,
you're saying,
if you have to look up or ask someone how to install lockers, you probably shouldn't.
Great advice. Great advice.
So you're saying a case. And if you don't know what a case spreader is, you probably shouldn't be doing it either.
Right.
So there's a spreader that actually opens up the whole housing.
Correct.
So that way, when you drop everything in, you're not hammering one side, hammering the other, and then causing things to go cockeyed and possibly damaging. So it is an install thing. Although it's super simple and there's very little parts.
Well, you say simple, but we showed it on the Gladiator. We kind of, not as strict how to, but we showed kind of the process. It takes knowledge, is what I'm saying. It takes knowledge.
And tools.
And the proper tools,
Yes.
So, that's great. I mean, I didn't know it was this simple of a setup because a lot of people seem scared, and I didn't know why, and now I know that they shouldn't be. And hopefully, now you're a little more educated on it because there's not much to it. Just install it properly.
Make sure you get it installed right and you'll be fine.
And you'll be fine. Yeah.
All right, you guys. So I've got to give a huge thank you to Scott Frary again for helping us out, because that is definitely something that we would have not have been able to teach or educate
I
on.
think it's super cool when we get with these companies and they actually like educate
are
us.
willing to talk to us
Yeah.
and help us inform not just us, but also inform you guys and help you learn a little bit about how your vehicle works and functions and what's what and how's how and what you should do in terms of modifications.
learning.
Guys, anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned as much as I did, if not more. We love you. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, you can find all your Lite Brite Nation merch at litebritstudios.com. All of your Lite Brite Nation decals at pixeldecals.com.
We love you, and
We
we'll
will see you next time.
Later, guys.
Yet again, another behind the scenes of YouTube life. It is now almost 7 p.m. and yes, it's beautiful out. It's sunny. Well, the sun's going down. And we were outside of Northridge. They are closed because everybody went home. And
It's 7 p.m.
What are we doing, Brittany?
I'm trying to steal their Wi-Fi.
We're trying to use We're trying to use their Wi-Fi. Pulled up on the curb of the front doorstep.
Fucking vehicles again.
And are we having success getting any Wi-Fi?
No.
Awesome. So anyway, guys, this is the kind of stuff we have to deal with daily, is trying to find
So I
Wi-Fi.
found out, though, if I stand right here with the laptop, I get decent.
For like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
What if I back up and I put the tailgate right there?
It might work.
Okay, before I go crashing through the door. Oh, so now what you got? You got?
It's better. It's
Are
still
you
so
Are you
shitty.
getting anything? 2?
It's down. It's not even good.
That's not even up. That's the down.
No, I'm telling you, it works better if I'm like holding it against the door.
Well, that's why I was supposed to back up to the door. You're supposed to put the tailgate down.
Maybe if you put the tailgate down, that'll work. See, like, it's f***ing awful still. Ah! This is so bad.
This is the YouTuber life every 2 days.
The
We have-
YouTuber who travels life.
Yeah, where you don't have
If
a.
we had our own home with our own Wi-Fi, that'd be so rad.
Jelly's like, what are you doing?
Don't. Hi, Jelly.
All right. Well, anyway, a little behind the scenes of what we go through, just for you guys. Well, for us too, but for you. Wait, you guys, right there. Okay, so it is 8:04. When were we? 6:30. Was it 6:30?
I don't remember.
It was like 6:30, I think.
The video is
But
uploaded.
the video is going up. This is just all part of that YouTuber life. You guys want to see behind the scenes, like Jelly's passed out on her lap.
Jelly
We're still here in the parking lot.
But now
Ooh,
we can go have dinner.
look at these new lights. These are the new JW speaker lights. Boom. Hey, that's pretty good.
Boom.
Well, that's really good for headlights. But if you really, really want to see something awesome, check out these LP6s.
Boom.